available to your speakers in 2017. Only on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.
Biggest guilty pleasure from the guy that fucking hates Disney saying, I fucking love their 3D adventure games. All their new stuff sucks. Like, strictly 5th generation. So pretty much just PS1 and a little bit of 64. Nothing Saturn. At least not to my knowledge.
I don't know if we can follow this up. This is big shoes. You probably know the last one.
The fucking say it. Is it Disney Adventures?
No, it's... I have a thing for bad wrestling.
Yeah, I should have seen this coming. Didn't even think of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like them. They're like... I feel like there's... The way... Okay, with wrestling games, especially with the WWE series, there's so much good things in different games, but then the rest is fucking crap. Like, Here Comes the Pain... Best engine.
No, just best wrestling game. I'll interrupt. I'll say it. If you disagree, you're wrong. Suck it.
Best engine, best roster, I would say, of the PS2 generation. I'm sorry, like, the recent games just add everybody in now. It's just... I'm, like, I can't...
Everyone but Chris Benoit.
Yeah. But, like...
And maybe Hulk Hogan. He might have been barred.
Yeah, he was bird. And like, so Here Comes the Pain, best engine, best mechanics of the wrestling game, hands down. I won't argue with that. Fire Pro's a different animal, but I'll let you have that. But when it comes to Creation Suite, GM mode, fucking like certain type like universe mode and stuff like that, that's where Here Comes the Pain doesn't have. And to me, I have a blast during those modes. Like for example, Creation Suite, you can do anything now. Like you can import fucking textures from your computer and slap it on a guy, and it's so easy to create whoever you want. Like anybody can do it.
And since you're talking about like bad wrestling games, you're referencing that WWE's current 2K
Yeah, I'm going
line
with the 2K.
is bad. Because it is bad. I'll say that, but will you say that?
To a degree, to be bad, but like
so pacifist.
I don't know. I can't call it bad because there's features that I fucking love from it. It's just.
I was really hoping to get that in a cut, but you kept talking.
Fuck.
I'm really thirsty. Okay, let's redo this.
No, let's keep going. So...
Are you referencing that the 2K series of wrestling games is bad?
They're bad towards the really, I guess you want to call it, hardcore wrestling fan base. And that's my cat.
You're saying that 2K current offering are bad. 2K games or wrestling games are bad.
I feel like they don't have the gameplay aspect of it down. Other than that, like, that's the only problem with them. That's the issue. It's just like they're more than like they're trying. I see what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it more realistic as possible, but it's just so much mini games right to them that just takes away from the action.
Aside from the 2K series, though, what other shitty wrestling games that you fucking love? Like, what is the reason?
I fucking love 2007.
Like SmackDown versus Raw?
Yeah.
Oh.
SmackDown was Raw. It's just the GM mode, I'm sorry. It's just, when I was a kid, I would spend hours on that fucking GM mode, just booking feuds. It's just so fucking fun. Like, I don't even, like, touch the gameplay aspect of the game. It's just booking. That's it. I need a fucking wrestling booking game. It's just what I need, and I don't know why no one can make it. It's impossible. Other than that, like, I do enjoy, like, bad wrestling mechanics for some reason. It's just, like, sometimes when something glitches and just goes through the fucking wall, it's just, I just can't help myself. And it's just awesome. Or, like, I think it was WWF Raw has, like, the stupidest CPUs in the world. They'll be
that whole game is stupid.
Sometimes they'll just be literally, they don't know what to do. They'll, like, they don't act like how a person playing the game should act. Like, they'll, like, sometimes they'll just be running into a corner and just not doing what they're supposed to do. Or if it's a ladder match, they won't climb the ladder to get the belt. They'll just try to pin you or something. It's just, it makes no sense, and it's just, like, the AI is the dumbest thing ever. I get a kick out of it. I fucking love it. It's just so good. But, what's another one? I'm trying to think of something other than fucking WWE, because that's most of the majority of the games. I picked up, what was it, a New Japan N64 wrestling game a few weeks ago. It's such a weird thing. It's just, like, it's based off of timing, and some reason, like, I just enjoy it. It's like, you just press a certain button, and it does the move and stuff like that. Liger's in it and stuff.
That's why you bought it. Liger's in it.
I fucking love Liger.
Alright, my number one, kind of like you're like, oh, I love shitty wrestling games. This is going to be of no surprise for anyone that knows.
It's Call of Duty.
You are so close with that. No, I love shitty first-person shooter ports to hardware that should not be running first-person shooters. That's pretty a long title, but let me elaborate. Obviously, like, Doom is super high up for me for, like, greatest game of all time. I love playing Doom on the Super Nintendo, which can't fucking run Doom. And why I love playing these first-person shooters on hardware that doesn't support it is because I love seeing how the developer handles the limited hardware and literally squeezing every inch of life out of that hardware to run their game in any capacity. So the fact that, like, Doom uses the Super FX chip too to even get the game running, and yes, it's a little sluggish, but it's fully playable. I can attest to that because I've beaten it, and I beat it in one sitting. I just sat down, I'm going to play Doom on the Super Nintendo, and like 5 hours later, I beat the game on the hardest difficulty, something I didn't think I was actually going to do. But I was determined, and I did it. Playing Doom on, like, a Game Boy Advance, again, should not be playing a first-person shooter on that. But Doom runs super smooth on the Game Boy Advance, and it looks great. It's looking fine due to the low resolution, but I think it was like David A. Palmer Productions is the company that actually developed that version, did a super good job of maximizing the Game Boy Advance hardware to get that game running. Duke Nukem Advance is fantastic, Doom 2 is fantastic, but there are some that do not run well, like Medal of Honor Underground. Originally a PlayStation title, I believe, and they ported it to the Game Boy Advance, and it looks like shit, and it plays like shit, but I love seeing how they tried to scale an entire PlayStation game onto a Game Boy Advance, and how they fucked it up so bad. So it's kind of like, man, if this no-name company, David A. Palmer Productions, can get something like Doom running on this, why didn't you just, like, copy what they did and get something really smooth running on here? Recently, a couple months ago, we were playing through Nightfire for Game of the Month. And I picked up the Game Boy Advance copy, and I was so surprised in how good it is. It's not Doom or Duke Nukem levels, but it's actually fully, like, the world is polygonal. So it actually doesn't use raycasting to make its world like Duke Nukem or Doom does, which is much easier to do for, like, the Game Boy Advance, which isn't really built with 3D in mind. So it just manipulates 2D. But no, Nightfire, the weapons and the drops, like the actual things you can interact with in the world, are all 2D. But I believe the enemies are 3D, and the environment is 3D. I forget about the enemies, but the environment is definitely 3D. And I was super impressed, again, with how smooth it was for a Game Boy Advance game running on that. Something else is, like, I love seeing the different ports using different architectures. A good example of that is seeing, like, Quake on Saturn compared to Quake on N64. Now, on Saturn, should not run Quake at all. So I love the fact that Lobotomy Creations had to take the entire Quake game and completely dismantle it, build their using their old engine from Power Slave, the slave driver engine, and rebuild the entirety of Quake using their new engine just to get it running on Saturn. Man, that is why Quake is the best looking game on the Saturn. Like, it's someone's like, oh, what about, I don't know, Burning Rangers or something? I'm like, dude, the polygons cut out all the time. It doesn't look good. It seems good, but no, Quake is super consistent. And I played through that earlier this year and I beat it. And I was like, man, I want to play more Quake. So I put up the 64 version, which is vastly whole different fucking ball game when it comes to handling 3D gameplay like that. And it was so smooth. Not to say that the Saturn is smooth or rugged. It works. Some compromises were here. A little bit of changes to some of the level geometry. But for the most part, everything was there and running fine. 64 was like on turbo, though, with its speed and just how fast it would react to me doing things. Like how, like, I don't want to say there's latency in the Saturn version, but everything was like on turbo on the 64 version. I could move faster, I could shoot faster, I could react faster. It was a hell of a lot more chaotic experience. And it's like, damn, that's just a difference in like the architecture, which is crazy because the Saturn 64 architectures are super distinct and super hard to program for back then. Another example is like Quake 2 should not be running on the PlayStation 1. They couldn't get Quake running on the PlayStation 1, but they got Quake 2 running. So I loved playing through Quake 2 last year, maybe the year before, and they fit like the entire game on the PlayStation, and it plays great, and it looks fantastic. And it actually has the original soundtrack by Sonic Mayhem, well, the 64 version got its own custom soundtrack from, I think it was, I can't remember the guy's name, maybe it's Audrey something, I can't remember off the top of my head. But, like, I love seeing that kind of stuff, and how different developers handle the different hardware to get first-person shooters running because of how advanced it is to get first-person shooters running back in the 90s. Nowadays, fucking whatever. It doesn't fucking matter. Call of Duty looks the same on everything. Battlefield looks the same on everything. Even Doom looks the same on everything. Barring, like, resolution differences, whatever, you need them side by side to really tell the difference between the console ports. Actually, even then, you wouldn't even really notice. Like, barring PC, just dealing with console, you couldn't tell the difference. But looking back, I can tell the differences between Doom pretty good. Between, like, the Jaguar, which has no music, which is super weird, or the 32X version, which actually doesn't have the BFG unless you use a cheat to give it you it. And if you finish the game with the BFG, you, like, don't get the ending. There's a glitch that happens because of it. It's fucking weird. But, like, I love that kind of stuff. So, that's my, like, super guilty pleasure. I've actually made it a mission to buy every single first-person shooter that came out on the Dreamcast and below. Because even, like, the Dreamcast isn't built for first-person shooters. Because, like, you don't have dual analog. You've got the one analog and the face buttons. It doesn't work well. But, fuck, I bought a Dreamcast mouse and keyboard, and I will still play Quake 3 online on my Dreamcast. Because, like, that was my first console online experience, and it's special to me. I fucking love it. That's my guilty pleasure. I will buy every fucking first-person shooter that came out on the Dreamcast and below. It is my fucking mission, and I will beat them. So, what are your guilty pleasures? You don't need a top 3 or anything. Just put in a list down below, a little comment, maybe on our Facebook. Give us a shout on Twitter of what your guilty pleasures are. The worse, the better. Like, I'm going to throw one out there. I don't think Aliens Colonial Marines is that bad. Oh!